NFL just announced that they raised the salary cap by $30 million. The stars have aligned for the Buffalo Bills, who all we've been talking about here is the salary cap problems and what Brandon Beane was going to have to do. A lot of rumors saying that Trey White could potentially be a cap casualty, as well as other players on this team. Even the talk about trading Diggs and doing some other crazy moves here. But the Buffalo Bills now have some additional cap space because the NFL ends up raising the overall cap by $30 million. This is absolutely huge for the Buffalo Bills. I think we could definitely restructure all of these players now on our team, free up enough cap space for the NFL draft, potentially maybe some free agents to fill those holes before the NFL draft. But again, I really think we got so lucky here. And this has been something that Brandon Beane has really spoken about in years past. Like, because of the pandemic, because of everything that happened, the NFL and all the uncertainty, they didn't really raise the cap, you know? It kind of stayed the same. It plateaued. Salary caps were going up in the NFL. Players were starting to get paid more and more, just like always, and the cap stayed the same. So it made things extremely difficult to retain the players on your team. But now I think we have more certainty with the future of the world of the NFL. The NFL announces that they raised the salary cap. And, you know, the Bills are going to take full advantage of this. Now that we have this information, I think Brandon Beane can really start adjusting things to see where he sees fit. And the first thing I do want to talk about here is Trey White being rumored to be just a straight up cap casualty. I mean, that is absolutely insane. In my mind, I think Trey White is definitely getting paid a heavy bloated salary, especially for not playing the past 2 years due to injuries. And I think the Bills would be better to restructure Trey White than just to let him go. You know, Trey White is such a great player. And you heard Sean McDermott, who knows cornerbacks like the back of his hand. He even said, like, Trey White is going to work harder than anyone else to get back to where he was. Now, in ACL and Achilles, we saw the transition that it took from even Von Miller, right? But Von Miller's up in age. Trey White is still a little bit younger than Von Miller. And the other point I want to make, too, is potentially moving Trey White to safety. Now, I think Trey White is a great tackler, like a free safety. But, you know, I would still like to have a ferocious hitting safety at that position. So, and you look at some other players here. I mean, Matt Milano dealing with his injury on that dirty London turf. Maybe he's willing to restructure things and kick that can down the road to free things up. Now, I really think with the Buffalo Bills having $30 million more to play with in cap space, you could take a look online that we had negative $56 million in cap space. Now it's dropped to around like $40 million in cap space. But with these restructures, in my previous videos, you can see that we restructured Trey White, Diggs, Matt Milano, some other players, even like Dawson Knox, Josh Allen. Like, we went through all the players that could be restructured and we restructured them. And again, it really pushes that can down the road, kicks the can down the road. So you have to know if these players want to be here long term. If you see these players being in Buffalo, wanting to be in Buffalo long term, then it makes sense to restructure. But, you know, if you restructure a player and he doesn't want to be here, he's going to get very disgruntled, and it's just not going to be good for the overall locker room. It's not going to be good for that player. And you want to make sure that you treat players right too. Like, you don't want the rumors in the NFL and players that come to Buffalo to be like, oh, they don't treat their players well. Like, they're not listening to us. They're you know, it's just straight business. You're just like another number to them, right? So I think the Bills are really going about it the correct way, and they're really doing what the players ultimately want, right? And we ultimately need players that want to be in Buffalo. Like, this isn't the greatest city, you know, like weather-wise, and we don't have like these world-renowned events and, like compared to other cities like New York City, like Miami, like Vegas, right? Like LA, like there's just such crazy things going on in other cities. Like Buffalo, you have to like it here. You have to have that small town feel. You got to like that blue collar DNA, right? And I really think the Bills really need to focus in on who ultimately wants to be here long term. And Stephon Diggs probably comes to mind here, where people think Diggs doesn't want to be here. Diggs wants to play with his brother. He wants to go to Dallas and all these things. But everything that I saw last year, Stephon Diggs was the ultimate teammate on offense, on defense, celebrating with his teammates. He even flat out said that he wants to be here long term, that he's a huge fan of Josh Allen and all these things. Like Stephon Diggs, I believe he grew up in Maryland. He's an East Coast person. I feel like he likes it here. I feel like he definitely vibes well with the Buffalo Bills, and we could see him here long term. In regards to Trey White, I remember when Trey White was here, there was some rumors that Trey White wasn't too fond of, the overall weather, coming from LSU, being from the South, all these things. So does Trey White want to be here long term? Is it worth kicking the can down the road for Trey White to free up even more cap space? But I truly believe this cap, Brandon Beane, they anticipated it. They knew it was going to go up. Maybe not as much as they see here with $30 million. I mean, just an NFL draft alone, you're looking at like $8 to $10 million just to sign an entire draft class. So the Bills should definitely have enough money to sign an entire draft class. They should have enough money after some restructures, after potentially parting ways with some veteran bloated salaries on this team, one of which, Tyler Matakevich, I think is still a great special teams player, don't get me wrong, but we're allocating so many resources and so much money towards the special teams unit. I don't know if it's ultimately worth it. I think relying on rookies, relying on the depth pieces of our team that can contribute on offense or on defense and special teams is ultimately what we need, instead of just having like a dedicated special teams player like Tyler Matakevich. Even a long snapper, right? Having a dedicated long snapper too. It's just kind of like, do we really need that? Like, why do we need a dedicated long snapper? Why not utilize one of our depth pieces on offense, just as another way to save money? But I appreciate you guys all so much. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe. That's going to really support me and my efforts for keeping this channel alive. I really don't make much from this. It's just pure entertainment and a community. You guys are really what drives me and motivates me for keeping this thing alive. So make sure you hit like, subscribe. 80% are not subscribed. Check a link in the description too to Course Careers. They're offering free introduction courses to land a high-paying, fully remote job. It's how I landed my full-time employment. Appreciate you. Check you guys soon, and go Bills.